Hello and welcome to Everyday Matters on Sangat television. Now today's a live phone-in show to have your say on topics that we don't normally talk about. Now the number that we've got today for you to dial in on is 0121 516 2828. That's 0121 516 2828. Today we've got Balveer Kaur Dillon and Avtar Singh Gatora. Welcome to the show.
Okay.
So Avtar, as a guest that's come on today, tell me a bit more about yourself.
I'm an ex-serviceman. I'm 69 years of age, but I did 29 and a half years in the Royal Air Force. And then I retired from there. I started working as a joint manager, site manager at the Nishkam Center. At the moment, I've retired from that as well, and I'm patient rep. Representing Nishkam well-being at the CCG, and that's what I do.
Okay, patient rep. What does that sort of mean?
Patient rep is basically I attend the meetings, I try and get the information from there, and I try to give the information back to the our community.
Yep.
Or to my surgery where I go to.
Okay.
And then we have a PPG meetings, patient participation group meetings. We try and educate them about all the different things we do and what new things are coming about in NHS.
Okay.
So that's what I do normally.
Okay. What would these things normally be about? What would be the things that we're being taught about?
In terms of patient, I think that it's important to understand that sometimes you hear a doctor's perspective and you might hear a family perspective, but one of the things that we want to focus on today's program is patient's perspective. And how does a patient feel in terms of having an illness? What should they be doing? How should they be moving forward with their family? And how they should engage with the doctor?
Yep.
And also, especially around the treatment, you do have choices as to what treatment you can have, and it is important that the patients are informed of their treatments, and that links back to medication as well, because sometimes the doctor might prescribe you something and then you say, well, no, I don't think. But you need to understand the overall picture as to what is good for you and what might not be good for you, depending on your other medications and things like that. So I think today's conversation, as we focus on every day matters,
yep.
It is how the patient actually lives their day to the fullest and in good health from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and then obviously multiplying this over months and years so they have longevity of life rather than early death.
Okay, so you're saying Everyday Matters. That's the name. The reason why we called the show was Everyday Matters is really it's about you as an individual.
Yes.
And your matters of your well-being.
Yeah,
your
every one of us matters, and I think the key thing for individuals is to appreciate and value themselves. That's the first thing, because if you don't value yourself, how is somebody else going to value you? Yeah, if you don't respect yourself, how do you expect somebody else to respect you? In terms of what we're looking at is health and well-being, and especially when we've been talking about mental health on the Monday program as well. Mental health actually impacts on everybody, but it's the mental illnesses that we need to understand. What are those, and how do they influence your body, your mind, and your soul, as your atma, as they call it. And one of the conversations we're going to have today, and talking to Baji about it, is how do we move forward and how do we engage with the patients to have an uplifted spirit, so when they do have the illness, they are better able to cope with it.
So Darling, how would you help your patients or people coming to you? Because your role is obviously as a seek to help others in the community and your patients and your colleagues. So you've got a designated role at the moment, or?
I don't do it with a specific area there, yeah. But I've seen people who have had this sort of condition, or some people who come up and say, "Hun to uthne dil nahi karda, main to kuch karne dil nahi karda, main adu da na hona sara kuch chhad dena, retire ho jana." ਤੇ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਭਾਈ ਹੁਣ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਕੁਛ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ, just ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਾਈ ਰੱਖੋ, ਆਪਣਾ ਮਾਈਂਡ ਥੋੜਾ ਐਕਟਿਵ ਰੱਖੋ। ਐਦਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਰੈਂਡਰ ਨਾ ਕਰੋ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਿਮਾਰ ਹੋਣੇ ਦੀ। ਤੇ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਐਨਕਰੇਜ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਓ। ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇੱਕ ਬਿਊਟੀਫੁਲ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਇਹ ਸੰਗਤ, ਆਣ ਕੇ ਸੰਗਤ ਕਰੋ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੰਗੇ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਚੰਗੇ ਹੀ ਬਣੋਗੇ, ਤੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੰਗਤ ਲੱਭੋਗੇ ਉਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੇ ਇਨਫਲੂਐਂਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਫੀਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਫੀਲ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਹੀ ਹੈਗਾ, ਜਦੋਂ ਸੰਗਤ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਸੰਗਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੰਗੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਈ ਬੰਦੇ, ਸਿਮਰਨ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ, ਪਾਠ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ, ਨਾਮ ਜਪਣ, ਕਈ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਮਾਲਕ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਫਰਕ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਤੇ ਕਈ ਬੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖੇ ਵੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਨਾ ਬਿਮਾਰ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦਾ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਛੱਡਦੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਕਈ ਕੁਝ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਤੇ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਐਨਕਰੇਜ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ। ਕਦੀ ਵੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਨਾ ਛੱਡੋ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਛੱਡ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਗਿਰਨਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਆਪਣਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੌਨਫੀਡੈਂਸ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਨਾ ਘਟਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ। ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਬਿਮਾਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ।
Yeah, one of the things, obviously there's some research done about having the right sort of type of community around you who will uplift you. So one of the things that Baji is saying, when you go to the Gurdwara, you actually have a vibration which is positive, and it actually energizes your body, your mind and your soul. So you're actually feeding your soul. And one of the things we discussed last week was that it's not just what you eat is actually feeding you, it's what you see, is what you hear. So if you hear koi karda hai, koi chugli karda hai, that's a negative impact on you. So it's very, very important that you have the right environment, you have the right community, and you actually resonate in that, in the vibration, to elevate yourself in your energy.
Speak about depression and stuff like that. Say you're saying the Gurdwara.
Yeah.
What about the people from the old generation, younger generation, that go to the Gurdwara but they think that, like you're saying, people are always back chatting about them, or they've done something that, or their family members done something, whether it's going through divorce or anything like that.
Right.
That people will be negative, and then they think that if I go to the Gurdwara, although you go to the Gurdwara for a different reason, it's almost the community are judging you. How do you get away from that in the Gurdwara?
I think you will find that it doesn't matter, like I said last week, it doesn't matter what you do, the community will do charcha about the different things, right? I think the key thing is that you actually create a protection shield around you. And one of the things we said was that you do Simran, and Simran will actually help you. Now somebody might say, well, I'm not religious, I have not taken Amrit, so how is that going to impact on me, because I don't do Simran? So there you might look at relaxation techniques, you might look at meditation, you might sit in silence. There's a number of tools that you got out there in the system. Namely, you can YouTube a lot of the stuff and listen to therapeutic music, or actually one of the things that we were saying, it is interesting you're saying that, but one of the things is you've got to be very confident in your own ability of what is, and the key thing is accepting. If for instance your parents have divorced, now why is it your fault that they're divorced? So why are you taking or carrying that stress around with you because your parents have divorced? Now you're an individual, God actually sent you as an individual. You're going, when you go back to the divine spirit, you're going to go alone. So it's not purposeful to actually think like that. People will think whatever they like to think. I think the key thing is that you actually clarify what you want from going to the Gurdwara. If you want peace of mind, you will actually attract those sort of people towards you.
Okay. So for example, if you probably help a lot of the old generation as well in this state, what would you say to them where their kids got problems, or whether people are saying negative things about their kids or themselves? How do you get someone to get that's suffering from depression, saying he doesn't want to go to Gurdwara because this person's saying that, this person's saying that? I mean, it's fine doing Simran, but and trying to get for a youngster, for example, we can go on YouTube, we could do that stuff, but how will an old generation person get away from that whole thing that I've got no dill left, this is really bad for me.
ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਈ ਬੰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਕਿ ਨਿੰਦਾ ਚੁਗਲੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਆਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਇਫੈਕਟ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ। ਇੰਨਾ ਸੋਚ ਕੇ ਦੇਖੋ, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਹੋ ਪਾਣੀ ਦਾ ਗਲਾਸ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਪਰ ਡੁੱਲੇ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਬੰਦਾ ਲੈ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਤੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਡੁੱਲਿਆ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਸ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਤੋਂ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਭਾਈ ਤੂੰ ਤਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਡੁੱਲਿਆ ਕਿ ਤੇਰੀ ਕਨਸੈਂਟਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਪਾਣੀ ਤੇ ਸੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨਾ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਲਈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਨਸੈਂਟਰੇਟ ਉਹ ਕਰਨਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਨ ਗਏ ਆ not to see ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਚ ਬੁਰਾਈ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬੈਲੈਂਸ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਆ ਵੀ ਬੁਰਾ ਹੈ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਆ ਵੀ ਬੁਰਾ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੰਗਿਆਈ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਰਹਿਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਕੁਝ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਕਾਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਰਹਿਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਰਾਈਟ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਚੰਗਿਆਈ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਨਾ ਆਟੋਮੈਟਿਕਲੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਉਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਮਾੜਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਚੰਗਾ ਹੀ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਸੰਗਤ ਬਦਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ
And the other thing is, what Baji is saying there is linked to what Babaji talks about, is that you actually need to see God in everybody.
Yeah.
And the concept of the God is the Atma, is the soul, that is the divine soul inside you. You need to look at that rather than look at the exterior. Because sometimes we actually look at the exterior as to whether they're dressed like us or whether they're not dressed like us or whether they look different and they're standing out. So you're actually making sort of judgments when really you should actually check that what am I thinking about this individual, because the thought process is so strong that you can actually transmit that thought to another person and they will feel the enemy or the love.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you, for instance, you say, well, some of those young people going into the Gurdwara, they feel alienated, as you said.
They're not in that perfect family scenario. And
Yeah.
there's
And
people,
I think is what, who are we to make a judgment of what is a perfect family environment? And sometimes I think there is a kind of camouflage or a element of fog that people give the perception of a fantastic, stable family. In fact, what Guruji and the Bani says, that the fire burns in every household. Yeah, so it's only just a matter of getting up there on the hill and looking down. So who are we to make a judgment? The key thing I personally think that we need to do more of is actually engage 80% of the Asian community who are Sikhs, who are not actually passing that threshold in coming into the Gurdwara, and they are the ones we need to be serving.
But you see, the thing is, just going on that front, a lot of the youngsters, like even from me, for example, from Coventry, or you've got a lot of Gurdwaras that you've got there. Certain are based for certain different communities, and that's a whole thing that we'll have to talk about, which doesn't make sense anyway. There's so many different types of. But for example, you can have Gurdwaras where, for example, my 4-year-old son, I take him to the Gurdwara, and he was upset because the police weren't there. The police are normally there and stuff like that. So sometimes for a youngster, when you see all these troubles happening between communities and stuff like that, you think, what? Is this really a place of worship? A lot of Gurdwaras got to the place where is it? Is it a place of worship, or is it just a place of fighting and the own trouble to one person, one committee trying to get over the other committee?
I think there is, and I think Baji will agree that there's good and there's evil within the world. And I think as we talk about this Kaljug, is the era that we're traveling through. Kaljug is the dominance of evil. Is that what it is?
That's right,
yeah. The dominance of evil.
Could come through.
Yeah. So therefore, if there's a domination of evil elements being happening, it's not necessarily any one person's fault. It's just the environment is going through such a change that it's impacting back on individuals, the human beings. We're impacting on the oceans and a wider picture than that. But one of the things I think Paisavji says, that is one of the reasons that we have prayer sessions for, was it 11 days? 11 days, is that correct? In order to have what they call Sarbat Dapala, to ask Guruji God to bless everybody, because we're going through such a turmoil and wars that are going on and conflicts that are happening within the family environment. So it's actually impacting every one of us as we sit, and this is what the program is about, is looking at those issues. And one of the things, if we look at how is it actually impacting on us as individuals, and one of the questions they ask, if you have mental health, and does it impact on your physical health? Yeah, and that's the question they ask. Of course it does.
Yeah.
Because if your physical health isn't right, it'll affect your mental health. If your mental health isn't right, it'll affect your physical health. So I think it's very, very important that every individual understand themselves first, yeah, before they can understand somebody else. So I think it's very, very important you understand, why am I feeling the way am I feeling at this moment? Why is it that when I go to the Gurdwara, I feel that people are looking at me? Yeah. And what do I need to do in order to alleviate that, or actually speak to the people?
So
Yeah.
that's fine saying that. So what would you say to the individual that doesn't come from a normal sort of background like that, that's had that sort of easy sort of life? So some people had hard lives, some people had easier lives, and that sort of their community, that, you know, and the way that they've been brought up, and what they've been given, what they've been able to do, etc. How would you say that person that's always going to be feeling low, whether they come from a, you know, when so their parents didn't have any faith in the religion, didn't go to the Gurdwara, how would you say to that youngster saying, well, they're not going to Gurdwara, my dad's, or, you know, they're just going out here, they're doing this and doing that?
Yeah.
How are they going to say to that person, okay, if you've got these pressures and these problems, and you can see that your family circle isn't a great circle, that it's, you know, and it's causing problems, how would you say to that person, okay, you can get out of that trap, you can come to the Gurdwara and try and get into that sort of faith, and get your mind away from that,
Yeah.
when there's no one else as a role model that's doing that?
I think the key thing, what does happen, sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, is people generally will receive people and they welcome and say, I haven't seen you here before, would you like to, and then tell them about it. We do actually have tours around the Gurdwara at the moment of people who are coming, but they're kind of arranged, they're not
Yeah.
individualized.
That's a good thing,
yeah. One of the things, I was reading a report on, I think, is it called Action Faith or Faith Action, something like
We've
that?
just got a call now. Hello, welcome to Sangat TV. Hello? 1 second, it should be coming through now. Hello?
ਹੈਲੋ
Hello, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
ਇੱਕ ਖਾਲਸਾ
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ।
ਤੇ ਜੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਕੀ ਸੀ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੀ ਤਾਰੀਫ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਟੈਲੀਫੋਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਬਲਿਹਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਰੰਧਾਵਾ ਬੋਲਦਾ
ਜੀ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ। ਇਹ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਨਾ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ, ਦਸਤਾਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਪਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਗਲਾਸ ਵਾਲੀ, ਤੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਦਾ ਗਲਾਸ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੋਈ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਖੜਕਾ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਜੋ ਵੀ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਆ, ਉਹਦੀ ਕੌਂਸਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਸੁੱਟ ਡਿੱਗੀ ਹੋਈ ਗਲਾਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਤੇ ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੈਠੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾਮ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਰੋ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਦਾ, ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਨੰਦ ਆਊਗਾ। ਇਹ ਦ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟਾਂਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਤਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ, ਇੱਕ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਜੀ। ਉਹ ਆ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ, ਤੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਜੇ ਆਰਾਮ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਸੁਰਤ ਜੋੜ ਕੇ ਬੈਠੀ ਹੋਈ ਆ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵਾਈਬ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਨਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਔਰਾ ਬਣਦਾ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦਾ, ਉਹ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਲਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਹਾਈ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੁਰਤ ਜੋੜਨ ਵਿੱਚ। ਜੇ ਮਨੁੱਖ ਆਪ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਗਲਾਸ ਵਾਲੀ ਖੁਦ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਇਹ ਸੋਚ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਿਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਹਦਾ ਘਰ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਵੀ ਸੁਰਤ ਜੋੜ ਸਕਦਾ। ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਜਾਣ ਦਾ ਮੰਤਵ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਉੱਥੇ ਜੁੜੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਟਿਕੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਰੂਹਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵਾਈਬ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਿਮਰਨ ਦੀ ਬਰਕਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ, ਉਹ ਆਮ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੇ, ਨਵਿਆਂ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਸਹਾਈ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਸਤਿਗੁਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਦੇ ਸੁਰਤ ਜੋੜਨ ਨਾਲ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਆ ਨਾ, ਉਹ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਨਵਿਆਂ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਗਿਆ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸੁਰਤ ਜੋੜਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਦਦ ਮਿਲੇ, ਉਥੋਂ ਦਾ ਔਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਮਿਲੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬਰਕਤ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਰੂਹਾਂ ਬੈਠੀਆਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਵਾਈਬ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਸਹਾਈ ਹੁੰਦੀ। ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰੀਦੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੁੱਪ ਧਾਰਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਭੈ ਭਾਵਨੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠੋ, ਬਾਕੀ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਕਰੀਏ। ਇਹ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਮੈਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟਾਂਤ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਉਹ ਵੀ, ਪਰ ਜੋ ਮੈਂ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੰਗਤ ਦਾ ਇਹੀ ਲਾਹਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਸੰਗਤ ਸਹਾਈ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਨਵੇਂ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ, ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਅਣਜਾਣ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਹਾਲੇ ਸੁਰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਟਿਕੀ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੁੱਤ ਟਿਕਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦਾ ਔਰਾ, ਸੰਗਤ ਦੀ ਬਰਕਤ, ਜੁੜੀਆਂ ਰੂਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਰਕਤ ਉਹ ਸਹਾਈ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ। ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਨੀ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ, ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ਲਾਘਾ ਕਰਦਾ, ਗੁਰੂ ਭਲਾ ਕਰੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦਿਓ ਹੋਏ ਭੁੱਲਾਂ ਚੁੱਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਖਿਮਾ ਕਰਨੀ ਜੀ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਗੱਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਟੇ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਗਲਾਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹਦਾ ਸਿਰਫ ਇਹ ਸੀਗਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕਹਿਣੇ ਦਾ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੀਵੜੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉੱਥੇ ਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ, ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਨ ਟਿਕਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਆ। ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਰੂਹਾਂ ਬਾਕੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਜਾਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਉਹ ਜੇ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਵਾਤਾਵਰਣ 'ਚ ਜਾਣਗੇ, ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ, ਉਹ ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਮਨ 'ਚ ਧਾਰਿਆ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਤੇ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਨਾ ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹੀ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰੇ ਜਾਣਾ। ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਇਦਾਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਉੱਥੇ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ। ਇਹ ਦ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਟਾਂਤ ਸਿਰਫ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸੀ।
I think it's very important to see ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਆ ਹਨਾ, don't listen to things that, because when you're sometimes listening to a conversation you can actually have certain feelings inside you, and if it's a positive conversation it will be uplifting you. Other conversation will actually make your heart very heavy. Yep. So you've got to be very attuned to your body. Now one of the things in a working environment, if I can take that from a gurdwara, from a working environment, in a working environment you will get somebody who comes around and talks and runs everybody down, and then they talk for 15 minutes and they'll go off, and when they're gone you feel so heavy and you think, oh my goodness, why am I here, what am I doing, etc., etc. However, that situation can occur anytime, so you've got to be very attuned to your body as to what the conversation is about, whether you want to sit and listen to it. Otherwise, excuse yourself from that environment, because you have to change your environment. And similarly, in the Gurdwara, you will have high vibrations, but I think sometimes if you're attuned to the negativity, you will pull on the negativity. If you're attuned to the positivity, you will pull on the positivity.
So just going on that for a completely different talk about, you're taking negativity. Say for example, if someone's married and they're going through divorce, and you've got kids involved, negativity, say you've got an ex-partner, a wife or ex-husband, and it's constant negativity all over the phone, over the kids, texting this, texting that, day in, day out, you haven't done this for the kids, they've got cuts here, they've not had their medicine, you didn't give them medicine on time, they're crying, they've said this about me, they've said that about me, you haven't done the homework, you haven't this. What can a guy do in that situation where you're hearing that all the time?
I think you have to you can actually acknowledge it and say, you have to say, well, that's not what's happening, I disagree with you, right? Or you actually let it go over your head, because that is a deliberate, sometimes people will actually use a deliberate strategy to arouse the anger within you. And now one of the things that is that there are 5 vices in your body, right? You need to control them. Only you can control that. They can't make you feel bad. You are actually making yourself feel bad. So they will say whatever they'll say. One of the things is, how do you protect yourself? You protect yourself by saying, well, okay, I'll listen to them, but I'm letting it go, because it's her problem or their problem, it's not my problem. So why are you carrying it? It's, the concept that we discussed last week was the idea that somebody giving you a fireball, you're holding it in your hand. Now it is your choice, either you hold it in your hand or you let it go. Right, if you're going to hold it in your hand, that's going to actually destroy you, because you're going to run that story, negative story, in your head again and again and again. They might have said it only once, you will repeat it 5, 6, 10 times, and that story will run into your head that you won't be able to sleep properly, you won't be able to eat, you won't be able to work, you won't be able to communicate. So it will actually destroy you physically and mentally. So you need to actually protect yourself from that. I think
it's fine you saying that. Look, today's a live show, a phone-in show as well, so our number again is 0121 516 2828. That's 0121 516 2828. Just speaking on these issues, stress and how we deal with it, just like you're saying, but say in that situation you have to respond back because you've got children involved, and you know that
respond positively,
but you're positive, they have eaten and stuff like that, but then it'd be just back and forth, and you're worried about, people get worried about courts, social services and stuff like that, and how they're, because it also, it also depends on your other partner and how they will see that situation and how they would pursue it. That could be an issue, and how people deal with them sort of.
I think you
human
have.
aspect.
I think we have choices. We have to make the choice. Now, if you, for instance, go into a confrontation and say, "Yes, I did whatever you don't do," etc. Backward banter, think backwards and forwards. You're not going to achieve anything. However, it's going to impact on you. It's going to impact on the children. If you're actually thinking of the big picture and say, "Okay, I'll agree with her. Maybe I could have done it better." Yeah. To neutralize it. I'm not a marriage counselor or a guidance. I'm just going from my own perspective. Sometimes within a marriage, and I think we will be talking about this subject in the future, I think the key thing is if your husband is heated and having a really bad time, or wife, you have to calm down. Let them have their say. Let them air it. And the other way, if the wife is angry and whatever, let them air it. And then when they calm down, because the situation occurs when you're both angry at the same time.
That's right, because there's a change taking place which is affecting the children, then obviously it is very, very important. But you've got to try and find out, why is that change taking place? What can I do to help it? The change could be taking place because he's not well.
Yeah.
The change could be taking place because the company he keeps and the things he does. He could be affected because he's having alcohol. It could be affected because the company talks about things which are affecting his family specifically. And these things got to be looked at and addressed in a very, very wide spectrum, because it's not just a small issue of saying, oh, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. Some people who have got the attitude that they want to be dominating, then you have to find a compromising ground where how we're going to cope with it. And as Panji just said, we are not marriage counselors, and they can find out during the discussion, they can find out what is actually making somebody tick, what is actually triggering that problem, and they can probably turn around and say, try this method. I know one thing for certain, they will say 99% daya karo, forgive them and try and work with each other. Yeah, and sometimes, or should I
Sometimes
say 99%.
you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can't.
but then
But
you just
you're
have to
not in
accept
that.
that circumstances. But one of the things by Sabji says, and that God chose your husband or your wife for you. Like you didn't choose your parents. God chose the parents.
Yeah.
And therefore, if you don't complete the cycle in this life, you will have to complete it in the next life.
Okay, what does that mean? That you'll have to?
I'm going
you'd
to
have
go
to go
over
back
to you.
just to go back to get. I've never heard that before. So you have to go back and get married again. You're trying to say?
Yeah, you're probably reincarnated.
No, I've done it once, not again. Thank you.
Right,
Yeah.
but the key thing is, I've actually was attending what they call Universal Peace Federation seminar at the weekend, and one of the things they did was that in terms of relationships and to encourage peace across the world, but within families, is that you actually see God inside your wife, or you see God inside your husband. Right? If you see God inside your wife, you would not disrespect them.
What if you hear the devil?
I mean, can you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is the truth, because God does live inside each and every one of us,
Yeah.
and we call it Atma,
Yeah.
right? So if you knew that, if you actually acknowledged and resonated with that idea, you would not be actually, well, we wouldn't be in the position that we are in, because we forget God.
Okay, that's a nice way of putting it across.
So therefore, the cycle starts
Yeah.
again. The cycle starts again. So one of the things is, say that we come into this world. Now, this is I'm a novice. I'm not an expert at this. We come into this world with a purpose. Yeah, we need to know what our purpose is,
Yep.
and if God has put us with somebody, that is our challenge that we need to deal with. We cannot walk away from it.
Okay, but then that's contradicting when you're saying where you've got kids involved and the marriage is awful for the kids and stuff like that. That's
But
not,
if you-
you're
if
not
you- if
walking
you're
away from it,
constantly
you're not
le-
walking away from your children.
Well, let's say if you're constantly arguing and therefore you're not finding resolutions and the kids are observing those behaviors. Now, I'll actually tell you from real life situations where the husband used to drink and he'll beat the wife. The children observed that behavior. The boy grew up and he started beating his wife and his mother as well. So those sort of behaviors exist because it's learned behavior. Yeah.
Yep.
So it is very, very important that whatever decisions individuals are making, as tough as it can be, that getting a divorce is the last thing you want to do. However, for the betterment of the children and the wife and the husband, it is better that you separate.
And then that whole cycle you're saying doesn't really come into that scenario, because at the end of the day, your cycle is your children there, and that's what you're looking after.
Your children is your
Yeah,
responsibility.
that's the most important thing in
Yeah.
overall on this. So,
What are your views on it?
Yeah.
I personally would say, it is a very, very difficult situation, and 9 out of 10 times you'll probably end up
Okay.
damaging the innocent child more than
Yeah,
a
so
husband
you
and
have to do
wife.
the right thing. I think
having
we've
a
got a call
problem.
coming through just now. Hello, welcome to Sangat Television.
ਹੈਲੋ
Hello, ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ
Thank you.
ਰਿਲੀਜਨ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਆਈਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਉਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਲਿਖਾਈ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਵਰਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਾਈਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਆ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਰਨੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਮੈਰਿਜ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੀ ਕਰਨੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਡਿਵੋਰਸ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਆ ਸਿਆਣਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਡਿਮੈਂਸ਼ੀਆ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਵਾ ਸੁਸਾਈਡ ਯੰਗਸਟਰ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਹੋਰ ਲੋੜ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਹੋਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਵੀ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੀ ਤਾਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਧਰਮ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਣਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਧਰਮ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਤੇ ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਦਇਆ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਫਰਗਿਵ ਕਰਨਾ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਚੀਜ਼ ਧਰਮ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਲੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਤੇ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਆਹ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਵਾਪਸ ਆਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਡਿਮਾਂਡ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਐਕਸਪੈਕਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਭਲਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਛੱਡ ਦਿਓ ਬਸ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਭਲਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੰਮ ਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਸੁੱਖ ਦੇਵੇ ਨਾ ਦੇਵੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੰਮ ਆ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੁੱਖ ਦੇਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਇਹ ਸੋਚ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਵਾ ਉਹ ਕਦੇ ਵੀ ਦੁਖੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੇ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਚਾਹੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹਰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੜੀ ਜਾਓ ਪਰ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਨਾ ਹੀ ਪਿਆਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਸੇ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਣਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੁਰਾ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਦ ਮੇਰਾ ਮਨ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੁਖੀ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਵੀ
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's very. Thank you. That's very
Thank you,
important. Yeah, I think the key thing that Lady's saying is about that you actually are very positive in your mindset. Yeah, so it doesn't matter what the influences are or what people are saying or doing to you. You don't let it influence your mind, because once you let it influence your mind, you will have a negative impact on your health. You will have a physical elements of being tired, not wanting to do anything, don't feel like going anywhere. There have been situations where men and women, let's say for instance the program I used to run was helping people who've been made redundant to find jobs.
That's hard,
and
yeah.
one of the things that they experienced, they were professional people, but one of the things they experienced was they lacked confidence in their own ability because of the way things have been done, and that actually translated into higher level of stress within the home environment. You know, when they say, oh, when you go home you kick the dog, well, here it was kicking the wife. Yeah, so therefore it landed up into domestic abuse, etc., because of the pressures of the importance of earning money, the high mortgage, etc. So the thing what this the viewer has actually said, Benjihuni, is very, very important that you have a calm mind. Now, how do you get a calm mind? One of the things, obviously, being a Sangat TV is having the right Sangat.
Yep.
Right, having the meditation, but clearing your mind and letting things go, because the more things you hold in your mind, right, the negative impact it's going to have on your physical ability, because one of the things we were talking about is the physical element and mental health linked. They are totally linked.
I know what you're saying. Say for example, if I've had an argument and it's late, or I tried to keep my phone away and not get involved that late, and yeah, it'll affect me insomnia, sleeping. Obviously, you'll be thinking about it till 10, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And you won't sleep, and then you'll wake up 2, 3 hours later, and you might have to go to work or look after kids, and it's affected them. Just because sometimes at night you can't control your mind. So what would you say to someone that's got suffering from insomnia in the community?
Okay.
Because of the issues that are going on, they think, okay, maybe I'll have a drink. Drinking is a perfect way to go to sleep.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if you're drinking, you're not having a proper sleep for a start, because the alcohol in the system is not letting you sleep properly.
I think-
Obviously, you get the side effects from that. You get addicted to stuff like that and sleeping tablets. How would you say to someone at night to deal with insomnia and the stresses that life is causing?
Again, I think I'm not coming from the expert's perspective. We're
Yeah.
coming from the patient's perspective. Now, one of the things that I don't know if you might be able to throw some light on it. I think everybody can suffer from insomnia because your mind is running a story in your head and it keeps repeating it. You're reliving the scenario that you have experienced earlier on in the day, right? And that scenario will keep you awake because you're trying to find a resolution to it. What I think would be good, they say that it is best if you write those things down that would be in you. Yeah, write it down,
At
put it
night?
on a blanket. Sorry, on a
At
piece.
night,
Yeah. If you can't sleep,
Yeah.
either you get yourself. Sometimes they say get yourself a hot drink, go back to bed, etc. If you can't go to sleep, there's various techniques of what you need to do. Yeah, but one of the things I would say, if something is running in your head, you need to write it down. This is what was said. This is what response I'm going to do tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. So then you parked it. Yeah.
That's sort of what I do with my stuff. If I've got things now, you've all got busy lifetimes. What I have on my phone is a calendar. So that calendar's got my work calendar. It's also got my personal information as well. So I know, I've got the kids at this time. I've got to pick them up, do this, get this food, get the shopping, so you don't think about it like so. Everything's written the day before,
Yeah.
and you plan it in advance.
It is about planning, but the key thing, what you're saying about having insomnia is a condition that needs to be looked at, because if you don't resolve that insomnia, right, with various relaxation techniques or meditation or part or whatever it is, it will have a negative impact on your mind. Yeah, which means that you'll start getting confused.
Yep.
You'll start getting agitated because of lack of sleep. You will start hallucinating. Lots of other things will start happening, right? So it will actually impact on your capacity to cope every day.
So, Abdul, in your counselling, how do you deal with this?
Not the counseling, walking through the path of life. I would say, one of the things you mentioned was very interesting. So you say, when you are having problems,
Yep.
you say have a drink. One thing you have to
alcohol.
remember,
Yep.
alcohol,
Yep.
all right, have alcohol. One thing you got to remember, alcohol will suppress it for the time you are under the influence. But don't forget, that doesn't take the problem away.
Yep.
When you're sober, the problem still exists. So alcohol is not really the answer to it.
So what do you say to this, it's like in Punjabi, what do you say to the people there, the men that are drinking, the old generation that just got their own issues, they can't, like you were saying, they can't get into that state, something's happened in their family and they're thinking, how, I've got this beastie on me, people are staring, and the only way of doing it is with alcohol.
Right, so there I think you need to find alternative techniques, and one of the techniques they say, and I'll give you an example as to why I'm saying this. Right, firemen. Generally, this is research done that firemen, if for instance they go into an incident where there's a fire and they need to save lives, etc., and they go there and they're not actually, the adrenaline actually pumps up into their body, so they're actually in a ready state to deal with whatever that's going to happen out there, right? If for instance they go there and there isn't that much of an emergency and they've dealt with it, that adrenaline is still inside their body, which is hyped up, right? One of the things they were saying that these firemen were coming home, right, and because they haven't released that extra energy out in their service, they were coming home and beating their wives.
Okay.
Right. Now, one of the things they say, if for instance you got, it's a fight and flight concept,
Yep.
it's a basic concept of stress, right? If for instance your body, if you fear in the olden days there's a lion going to come, your body will react in such a way that either you're going to stand still, you freeze, or actually do a runner, right? Now, the same situation happens there, but what was happening, they were experiencing that these firemen, if they hadn't done their duty and there wasn't a real fire and they dissolved it, you got a call coming in.
Yeah. We're talking the fear. I know about the fear fight.
Fear and
Hello,
flight.
welcome to Sangat TV. Hello, welcome to Sangat TV.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ
Like
Haji
Hassan
Saskia.
Fateh ji.
ਔਰ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ
ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਲਾਉਂਗੇ ਜਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਮਿੰਟ
Yeah, on studio ਤੇ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਬੁਲਾ ਜਾ। ਹੈਲੋ
ਹੈਲੋ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਕੀ ਸੀ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੇ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਅਵਤਾਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਹੋਣੀ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਤਿਹ ਬੁਲਾਉਣੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਬੜੇ ਚਿਰਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਮੈਂ ਗੁਰਦੇਵ ਸਿੰਘ ਭੋਗਲ ਬੋਲ ਰਿਹਾ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਭਾਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਫੋਨ ਕੀਤਾ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਪਰ ਐਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾਰਮਲ ਪੇਸ਼ੈਂਟਸ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਪੇਸ਼ੈਂਟਸ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਵਿਊ ਕੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਡਾ ਪਰ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਫੋਨ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਬੀਬੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਗਏ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਕਾਲਰ
ਜੀ ਜੀ
ਉਹ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਮਾਈਂਡ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਦੀ ਦੇਖੋ ਸਾਰੀ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਇਹ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਘੁੰਮ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰ ਮਨ ਜੀਤੇ ਜਗ ਜੀਤ ਇਹ ਕੋਈ ਸੌਖੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮਾਇਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਾਇਆ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਕਾਮ ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਲੋਭ ਮੋਹ ਹੰਕਾਰ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਇਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਛੁਟਕਾਰਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਇਹ ਤੇ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਮਾਇਆ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਤਾਂ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਇਹ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਰੋਸ਼ਨੀ 'ਚ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਗੱਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਮਾਇਆ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਤਾਂ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਕਾਮ ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਲੋਭ ਮੋਹ ਹੰਕਾਰ ਹੁਣ ਕਾਮ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਜੇ ਕਾਮ ਬੰਦ ਕਰਦਾ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਤੇ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਗਾਹ ਔਲਾਦ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਕਹਿਣ ਤੋਂ ਭਾਵ ਇਹ ਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੋਈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਮੈਂ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਇਹ ਤੋਂ ਛੁਟਕਾਰਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਮਾਇਆ ਤੋਂ ਮਾਇਆ ਪ੍ਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਨੇ ਆਪ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ ਇਹ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਨੂੰ ਚਲਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜੀ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਮਾਇਆ ਤੇ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਮਨ ਜੀਤੇ ਜਗ ਜੀਤ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਜਿੱਤ ਲਿਆ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਜਿੱਤਣ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੀ ਮਨ ਤੇ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਕਾਮ ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਲੋਭ ਮੋਹ ਹੰਕਾਰ ਤੇ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਛੱਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੀਰ ਭੈਣਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਲਓ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਆ ਛੱਡਦਾ ਮੈਂ
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਤੇਰਾ ਫੋਨ
ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ
what I was saying was
about fear yes so FEAR
FEAR, so the fear element. Instead of doing that, what was prescribed was really those firemen should go out and exercise and get their aggression out in the gym. Yep. Yeah, rather than going home. So for instance, if anybody is feeling stressed out within the work environment, the best thing is not to go and kick the cat or kick the cat or the dog or the wife. It's best to go and have some exercise and take it out in the gym, and then you'll be much more calmer when you go back home.
Stuff like boxing is a great remedy for that.
Yes.
Instead of hitting the bag, you're getting
well, the thing is, you have all these chemicals will build up because of the stress or the anger. You have cortisol or adrenaline will be pumping around your body. If you don't release it, it will actually transform into pain, anger, frustration, and so those things, if you want to release them, is exercise. And one of the exercises is walking and walking and talking therapies, as they talk about.
And the other thing is, you got to remember ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਰੈਕਗਨਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਵੀ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਕੱਢਣ ਲੱਗਾ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਕੱਢਣ ਲੱਗਾ ਭਾਂਡੇ ਭੁੰਡੇ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਸਿੱਟਦੇ ਆ ਬੰਦੇ ਕੋਈ ਡੋਰ ਦੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਹੱਥ ਮਾਰਦਾ ਮੁੱਕਾ ਮਾਰਦਾ ਡੋਰ ਤੋੜ ਲੈਂਦਾ ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਠੰਡਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਨਾ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਉਹ ਡੋਰ ਤਾਂ ਟੁੱਟਿਆ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੀ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਉਹਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਨਾ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸੰਗਤ ਉਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਰੋ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਠੰਡਾ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਾਮ ਮਾਈਂਡ ਹੋਵੇ ਹੈਨਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ਦੇ ਸਕੇ ਤੇ ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ਸਿਰਫ ਪ੍ਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਤੋਂ ਸਿਵਾਏ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਸਕਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਜਪਣ ਤੋਂ ਸਿਵਾਏ ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਮਿਲਣੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੋਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਰਿਐਲਿਟੀ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਅਸਲੀਅਤ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੀ ਅਸਲੀਅਤ ਹੈਗੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਤੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਔਰ ਕਾਬੂ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਔਰ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਬਗੈਰ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਤੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲੇਗਾ ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉੱਦਾਂ ਦਿਮਾਗੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਮੈਂਟਲ ਹੈਲਥ ਮੇਰੇ ਕਹਿਣ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਦੂਸਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਗੱਲ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਈ ਆਪਣੇ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਤੇ ਗੁੱਸਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਮੰਨਣ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਠੀਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਉਹ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੰਨਣ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਪਾਗਲ ਆ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਨੀਂਦ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਕਾਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੁੱਛਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ
who can they help how can they get to the doctor because we were talking about this last week problem in the community is they're scared someone's going your uncle or your brother's going to one person finds out your uncle or your brothers or whoever's going to get mental health checks or and going to see a psychiatrist or whatever they're going to say the Pagal in the community, in the Gurdwaras, and the people are going to say.
I think that is a very important point. One of the things we do need to bring awareness is that mental health, we have, every one of us have a mental illness. It's the degrees of it. For instance, if you're going for an interview, you will have high levels of anxiety as you go in, right? It is actually good for you because it'll create that level of energy so you perform at an optimum level. Yeah. However, if that anxiety exists that you can't even open that envelope because the bill is going to be so high, or you can't open the door and go out, that's another element of stress that you need to really deal with, because if you keep having that prolonged, you will actually won't have a life. And one of the things that happen with mental illness is that you are actually running a story in your head which is having a negative impact on your mind, but it's also having a negative impact on your capacity to actually do day-to-day jobs.
Okay.
So one of the things for people, I think our community, I think more so, because one of the reports actually said, this is the Mental Health Federation, right, reported that it's the Asian community who are not accessing the services for mental illnesses, and when they do actually get them, they've gone beyond the situation where they can be helped properly. So it is very, very important. If, for instance, you're feeling anxious, not going out, not meeting friends, don't want to do anything, don't want to clean the house, don't want to talk to anybody, those are all signs that there's some issue there that you need to resolve.
But what do you think? But how would an older generation that's got a child that's, you know, say someone that's come from India that's over here, that wouldn't say, a youngster like me would probably know, okay, he needs mental health, that sort of generation, but the older generation might struggle in that front to refer their son or their daughter to get help in that front. And what's the signs of that? I
think personally, I think we need to have a lot more training and awareness. I know we do have less training and awareness, but I think it's the application of those principles that we need to do.
In Gurdwaras and go around and speak about it as a community, because we don't.
We do. I think we do, but not to the extent where it's needed, because you need to go quite in depth about it, because we cover just the very basic service. What you will find in the mental health structures, if you put it as a pyramid, right, you will have a lot of people getting help at the very low level. Yeah, and say, okay, go and talk to somebody or get counselling, or you get it from the acute level, which is very, very dire situations. But the people in the middle don't get help at all.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's very, very important that places like the Gurdwara have been highlighted as one place which is a mental health friendly place. Okay. By the Action, is it Faith Action organization? Mm-hmm. And then what they've said is that Gurdwaras welcome people. Right, that's the king. That's about not having isolation or in the home, yeah, because loneliness and isolation actually causes you to have mental illness. The other one is hospitality, right? If you sit and eat with people, that actually raises happy hormones in your body that makes you well.
Yep.
Yeah. So every if you think about the Sohar Road Gurdwara, there's loads of elderly ladies and loads of elderly men who come there. Mm-hmm. Right. The key thing is they are made to feel part of the group. They're made to feel welcome by the principle that they can do seva if they want. They can eat. They can go and do listen to the part. Yeah. I think we need to do a bit more than that. And one of the elements that Faith in Action or Faith Action group was saying is that Gurdwaras could actually welcome individuals. For instance, like you were saying, a person who doesn't go to the Gurdwara very often, who's going through stress, come from a broken relationship, comes through the Gurdwara, the last thing is they want is a stivadar saying, don't stand there, stand over there, or don't use your mobile here, or something like that. You know, the normal structure. Yeah. Someone like me will use a mobile as well. But one of the things is, I think we need to go one step further, is actually have somebody at the door welcoming them, because it's the house of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. If God lives within us, why can't we welcome that individual like that? You can see. And one of the things they actually also discussed was the churches, the parish, that the priest actually noticed that certain people weren't coming to the parish for whatever reason. And because of this system of having mental well community, he actually noted that these people weren't coming, and he made it his job to find out why they weren't coming to the church.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
With a small congregation, that's feasible. With a big congregation, it's not that feasible. But you can put in systems in place to make that happen. So,
I think
so
it's
for
great,
instance,
like you were saying, Godwar's and it's an open door. It'd be great if, for the older generation, some of them can get the buses into the Godwar's and what have you. The older generation that can't make their way to there, that are housebound unless they're waiting for a relative to take them to the temple.
Yeah.
It'd
And
be
that's
great
a-
if there was a bus service that they could
That's it.
dial in. And there's about 20 Godwar's in each town almost now. They could share the cost.
they do have
The-
drive, don't they?
Yeah, they
Drive.
have some transport. Most of the Gurdwara, I see, they got little mini buses
Yeah.
who take them into the Gurdwaras and out of them. However, what the biggest problem we have is language barrier. ਆਪਣੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਕਿਹੜੀ-ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ-ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਹੂਲਤਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੁਣ ਡਾਇਲਰ ਰਾਈਡ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਣ ਕੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹੋ ਲੈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹੋ ਵਾਪਸ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਲੈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਪਰ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਹੂਲਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦੀਆਂ ਨਾ ਇਹ ਦੱਸਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਗਾਈਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਣ ਕਿ ਆਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਚਲਾਉਣ ਨੂੰ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਪਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਰਫ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟ ਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹਸਪੀਟਲਾਂ 'ਚ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਹੀਏ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨੀਂਦ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੋਲੀਆਂ 2 ਦੇ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਂ 4 ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਨੂੰ 5 ਜਣੇ ਆਣ ਕੇ ਕਹਿਣ ਕਿ ਤੂੰ ਐਡਿਕਟਡ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਣੀ ਖਾਈ ਨਾ ਇਹ ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੰਗਾ ਭਲਾ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਇਹਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਆ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਚੰਗੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੀਂਦ ਆਏਗੀ ਪਰ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਹੋਰ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਉਹ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ
Can I
I was going to talk about the matrimonials bit now that we've got. I know it's not
Can I just say one thing then regarding the medication side? I think it's important that medication is taken. For instance, if they're saying you've got to take this medication for depression, you need to understand what the side effects of that medication are, because you will feel worse. And if not, you need to actually look at something else and maybe do exercise and things like that.
Thanks a lot for your time. We just to go on, we've got another thing just to let you know. We've got Sangat matrimonials, which is coming on. I think you'll find the details on sangatmatrimonials.com. It's an event that's going to start. I can't remember the date. 2nd of June, isn't it?
2nd of June.
Saturday, 2nd of June.
Yeah.
It's from 3 till 8 p.m. So try to get there. Register online on sangatmatrimonials.com. You need to arrive around about 3 o'clock so we can get you registered. They'll have food there, and each participant will obviously get the starter and the main course. And you'll also get around about 5 to 10 minutes to speak to each of the individual participants, so you won't be under any pressure. And I think it's a good way of actually meeting people. Because we're so busy in our lives, it's a good way to meet a partner, but without that pressure of having an arranged marriage and being forced to, because it's just your own time to meet like-wise people that really.
I think it's an opportunity for young people to come and meet an individual in a safe environment, with no pressure.
I think guests are allowed as well, but they can't participate. So if your family members did want to come, but they'll be in a separate section.
Yeah, I think what it is, they're going to be the actual participants are going to be in one area, and the guests are not going to be in the same area or vicinity. So I think the key thing, what I would say, I know many young lads and young girls who are looking for partners, and I think it's very, very important that you come and have a look, and it may be that if not, there's nothing that friendships could develop. But I think the key thing is that you come to a safe environment and you have an opportunity to talk to people, get to know people, and just treat it as an evening, afternoon out, and then if something happens, that's great.
Right. And the website again is sangatmatrimonials.com. You'll see the registration. You need to register before the event, and then obviously once you've done your registration, after the event's on Saturday, 2nd of June, and try to get there for 3 p.m. Where you get the registration done, and it's free till 8, and you'll get the meal within that time as well.
Yeah.
So it was a good show going over the importance of stress and
I think there's so much, but I think the key thing for me is it is such a wide area, and I think that we need the community to actually be coming in and having that conversation as to what is useful and what isn't.
Well, Absar Singh, and thank a lot for your time. Again, thanks a lot for watching Everyday Matters. Thank you very much, and goodbye.